What's up everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name's Miles and today I'm going to be running you through the two biggest crypto airdrops of 2023. In today's video, I have some massive updates on both zkSync and LayerZero with new possible requirements that you might need in order to qualify for an airdrop. I'll also be showing you in today's video that it may not be too late to get your hands on an airdrop, and I'll show you all the steps necessary for both chains and run down the lay of the land in July 2023 for these airdrops. So if you're not already subscribed, make sure you subscribe to the channel and click the post notification bell so you're notified every time I upload a video. I'm going to be keeping you updated on these crypto airdrops and doing airdrop guides as new opportunities arise. But personally, I believe LayerZero and zkSync, look, there's still two of the best airdrops to go for just due to their sheer size. So we know how airdrops work in crypto. Typically, the more funding a project has, the more firepower, the more ammunition they have to go out and distribute an airdrop. If a project that is valued at $5 million does 10% of their supply, well, that's $50 million that they can actually distribute in terms of an airdrop. But if a project's only worth $5 million and they do 10% of their supply, well, now all of a sudden that's only $50,000 worth of ammunition that they can use on an airdrop. So for that reason, going for the big projects, I think, is going to be where the majority of the money is. And also the fact that these guys have big VCs, it also means that a token makes a lot of sense in order to be able to pay back VC investors, and via doing an airdrop, you can generate hype for your project. You can ensure organic traffic. You can ensure that users come back to the platform repetitively, and you can also build a lot of hype. I mean, some of the most successful projects of the year, for example, Arbitrum, they all conducted airdrops and had success in that realm. So keeping in mind that the bigger a project is and the more funding they have, typically the bigger the airdrop, two really come to mind, LayerZero and zkSync, as I mentioned. So firstly, we're going to go through LayerZero because we have a lot of news, and then in the second half of the video, we are going to go through zkSync and give you an update on each of these ecosystems. Now, in terms of LayerZero, they raised $263 million at a $3 billion valuation. So one of the most highly valued projects in crypto. If you don't know what it is, I like to think of it as the ultimate interoperability layer for crypto, which facilitates things like cross-chain swapping and bridging. In my opinion, it's in a super unique niche. We don't have many projects doing what LayerZero is doing, and if they can nail their tech, which it already seems like they have through some of the iterations we've currently seen, through dApps on the platform like Stargate and Radiant, then it's going to be a pillar of the crypto economy. So it's a project that's unreleased that I'm looking forward to, and in order to get involved, because the token isn't listed on the open market yet, of course, the airdrop is the #1 way still currently to get involved with potentially getting your hands on some LayerZero tokens. Now, a lot of people said that the LayerZero snapshot has already been taken. It's over. For anyone that hasn't been doing anything yet, you're screwed. Now, although it is true, if you started last November when I was writing threads on LayerZero and telling people, well, you should probably get started now, you would be in a better position, there still is an opportunity. There's still a window here to potentially qualify for an airdrop if you haven't done anything. Now, of course, the ones that started earlier are probably going to get bigger airdrops because they've had more time to build up transaction volume, consistency, and bridge volume, which we know could be some of the requirements, as those were some of the biggest requirements in Arbitrum. The people that haven't done any of that yet may still have an opportunity, a window of opportunity here to get involved. Now, CC2 has done an amazing job with updates on the LayerZero front, and he actually has messaged some insiders, and there are screenshots here that, you know, he's blanked out the name and some of the messages that said ZRO, the token, is 100% happening, got delayed though. Then he says, but they will distribute to tech users, tech product users. Then he says, of course, 100% airdrop confirmed, allocation not confirmed yet though. My Connect says that's FDV. So basically, from CC2's DMs with this insider, fresh off the press, as he says, the information he got is A, the snapshot had not been taken as of June 8th. It's currently June 30th. So if it wasn't taken then, the chances of it being taken in the interim are quite low. B, the goal was always to launch in Q4, not Q3. Airdrop 100% confirmed. Exact allocation not decided upon, slightly delayed from what we previously thought. Deadline for token launch Q1 2024. So we may not see, in fact, I would almost go out on a limb here and say we won't see a ZRO token until 2024. But that is a good thing because that means you potentially have more time for an airdrop. And just think about the Arbitrum timeline here. They did their airdrop in April, but their snapshot wasn't until February. So it was only done 2 months before the token was launched. So these projects, think about it from the project perspective. If you are LayerZero, you don't want to do an airdrop a year before your token because you're going to cut a lot of people out. And we know how badly that can reflect back on the project and kill a project's hype if you cut people out. Just look at what happened with Sui. They didn't end up doing an airdrop, and everyone was super pissed, and now their community, well, it's basically dead. Projects don't want to do that. They want to get as many people involved as possible to generate the most amount of hype possible. So for anyone saying, oh, snapshot's taken, no, it's too late, blah, 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 just think about it from the perspective of LayerZero. They actually want to drag this out as long as possible. You know, they don't care if they're giving people slightly less because they're diluting the tokens across more people. What they want is maximum effect in terms of the most amount of people possible getting involved, and that leads me to believe that there still could be a window of opportunity here. So if you haven't been interacting with LayerZero yet, what can you do to start interacting and start qualifying for an airdrop? Well, the first thing I want to say is that airdrops aren't guaranteed. They can be a guessing game. Some of the requirements for Arbitrum came pretty unexpected, and some of the requirements were pretty straightforward. Sometimes projects are a lot more selective with who they give an airdrop to, and sometimes projects aren't. What you have to do is use the best information available to try and predict, think in the mind of the project and think, okay, what kind of actions would they want me to do in order to qualify for an airdrop? And I actually did write a thread on some of those actions a few months ago in April, but there has been some new updated actions that I would like to add to this thread that I'm going to run you through today, which will give you additional details. And I think the CoinGecko article, in tandem with some alpha I found on Twitter, will do a good job at explaining it. So let me just quickly run through some of the steps that could be necessary for qualifying for a LayerZero airdrop. I'm not going to physically get on the blockchain today and do MetaMask transactions. I'm just going to speak to you about some of the steps, and of course, in your own time, you can look into further these steps individually and work out which ones you want to complete. The first one for LayerZero is joining the Discord. Of course, that is where you are going to get all your major project updates. The second one is to use Stargate. So that is to use the platform to facilitate swaps, but also stake the Stargate governance token if possible. Stargate was one of the primary dApps first made on LayerZero, and it just makes sense that by using Stargate, you could potentially help qualify for a LayerZero airdrop as well. By the way, I'm going to link the CoinGecko article in the description if you want some of the additional details on each of these steps. Another thing that they suggest, and this is something I also mentioned in my thread, is to use Liquid Swap by Pontum Network. So it's basically a bridge that allows people to transfer assets across Aptos to other networks via utilizing LayerZero. Because LayerZero is basically an interoperability layer, it's utilized by individual protocols to facilitate cross-chain bridging and swapping, etc. So a lot of the actions that you'll need to do in order to qualify for a LayerZero airdrop will involve using dApps that leverage LayerZero's tech. So that's, bridges, dApps in the ecosystem, etc. Hence why we have this bridge as one potential way that you can build up bridging volume. If we look at the Arbitrum requirements, we know that bridging across to the Arbitrum network was one of the requirements. The more you bridged over a certain period of time, the bigger your airdrop was. And also transactions, the amount of transactions that you were conducting and the frequency of transactions all came into account as well. I think protocols are getting smarter, and they are trying to get rid of cyber wallets, so that they are wallets that kind of, seem fake, because they don't want people click farming their airdrops. So to be smart, using an amount, let's say $50 to $100 plus to bridge is probably going to rule you out of being classified as a cyber wallet, which of course you don't want to be. So you don't want to just bridge $1, $2. You want to bridge as much as possible to build up volume. Now, that of course doesn't mean you're going to lose all the money you put in, because it's still your stablecoins if you're bridging it, although you are taking on a bit of extra smart contract and protocol risk, of course, by having your funds on chain. But that's just crypto, right? It's not a free lunch, although airdrops are a great way to, I think they're the best way in crypto to make your first few $1,000s. They're not always a free lunch. You do need to spend time, you do need to be diligent, and you also need a little bit of capital in order to get involved with a lot of it. The fourth step is to use the Aptos bridge by LayerZero. So that's a similar thing, just bridging across from Aptos. The fifth step, which I mentioned in my thread as well, is to actually use Radiant Capital. So Radiant Capital is a dApp. It's a money market that's built on Arbitrum but leverages LayerZero's technology. In order to use Radiant Capital, you can go to the website, scroll, select the correct network, and you can actually borrow or lend assets. So I think by depositing in some of their pools, this could definitely be a way to activate some of the criteria on LayerZero. So that's borrowing against assets, depositing assets. Basically what LayerZero wants to see is that you are genuinely interacting with protocols on their ecosystem. The sixth step is to use Hashflow. It's a cross-chain DEX. What you could do on Hashflow is actually just submit a few transactions. So swap a few coins in and out, stable coins into ETH, back into stables. that kind of thing. Just get active with swapping using a multi-chain DEX that is powered by LayerZero. Hashflow is a good one as well. Tapioca is an omni-chain money market that also uses LayerZero. You can connect your wallet to that. You can bridge funds across chain. That's definitely something you can do, and you can also interact with that protocol as well. And in my thread, I also mentioned SushiSwap as a potential dApp that you can swap, because that also uses LayerZero too. But I want to just show you the ecosystem here. Basically, what you need to understand is you're trying to build up volume consistently. So you're just trying to genuinely interact and use protocols in the LayerZero ecosystem. Now, new ones continuously keep launching, and that opens up the door for new opportunities. Now, there are some cases where you get protocols on LayerZero that you can kind of kill two birds with one stone with. What I mean by that is by doing activities on that chain, you're helping yourself qualify for LayerZero, but you're also helping yourself qualify for protocol-specific airdrops, because it's not just LayerZero that does airdrops, it's some of the projects that are launching on LayerZero that are also going to have governance tokens that are also going to conduct airdrops. So the places where you can find two birds with one stone interactions, they are the best ones for qualifying for LayerZero. There's a couple examples of this. One is Interport Finance. It's essentially a DEX that offers cross-chain swapping that utilizes LayerZero. CC2 says volume was a major factor to qualify for the ARB tokens, the maximum supply, which was 10,500. I've stated in the past, ZKS will run the ARB playbook, while LayerZero has some additional twists. Regardless, volume will also be a crucial play for LayerZero. It's about bridging after all. So if we look at the Arbitrum requirements, it wanted transaction volume in certain aggregate tiers, so 10,000, 50,000, and 250,000 of transactions. And the way you can build this up is actually just by swapping assets on DEXs. Now, yes, you'll pay some fees. Yes, you may pay a bit of slippage. That is just, part of the cost here of getting an airdrop, but transaction value definitely, in my opinion, is going to factor into the LayerZero airdrop, and CC2 does an amazing job. I recommend following him. I'll put his link in the description as well, because he has in-depth guides that I won't go through today on how to utilize these protocols. Another couple ones that he mentions are actually Gains Network, who have a bridge that's been live since January that utilizes LayerZero tech to bridge between Polygon and Arbitrum. So this is another bridge that you can use in order to potentially qualify for LayerZero. And we also saw another one launch by ZKS domains that you can also use to bridge. So getting up the transaction volume on DEXs is great, but also getting up the bridging volume on LayerZero bridges is also great. So once you kind of identify the dApps you want to go for, I've mentioned a few today, there's also a few in the CoinGecko article, now it's time to start getting serious about organization. So what I recommend doing for everyone is get an Excel spreadsheet, write down the dApps that you're using, and write down the dates. So pick a time every single week on your calendar that you dedicate to airdrop farming. Maybe that's Sunday nights, maybe you do 10 minutes a day, maybe you do an hour a week in one block. What you need to do is you need to block dedicated time for airdrop farming if you're serious about airdrop farming. This is what it takes to get proper airdrops. Block time, come up with an Excel spreadsheet, write down some of the steps that you want to use to complete, for example, the LayerZero airdrop. So you could write down, okay, bridging from Aptos. I want to use Pontum Network. Okay, now I want to use Radiant. Now I want to use Stargate. Now I want to use the Gains Bridge, etc. Start writing this stuff down. Then every single week when you do these steps, start populating that spreadsheet with the amount you bridged, the transaction hash to actually get the transaction from your MetaMask, and keep track of it all. Because the most important thing when it comes to airdrop farming is being consistent. If you can consistently hit a few quality dApps, that's much better than just being sporadic and sometimes doing stuff on chain and sometimes not. If you are serious about LayerZero, you need to treat it like a job. You need to pick a time every single week and you need to dedicate time towards it. They're looking for genuine interaction, but most importantly, they're looking for consistent interaction with the blockchain. So that is the number one recommendation I would give, to be consistent and come up with a spreadsheet and a calendar that can allow you to actually address this properly. Now, there's actually a very cool June dashboard called LayerZero 20 Users Rank Check, which allows you to check your current ranking if you are in the top 20. So this is pretty cool because you can see where you currently rank via your ranking score, which is calculated via transaction count and bridged amount. So you can actually view the top people in terms of transaction and bridging amounts. We can see CC2, who I've just mentioned some of his threads, he's bridged $275,000 total and he's done 350 transactions. Now, obviously, he's doing it full time. You won't need nearly as much as him in terms of bridging amount, but if you could just build up that volume over time, that is obviously going to be a great thing, and it's going to bode well for a LayerZero airdrop. So that's basically the alpha on LayerZero. I don't think the snapshot's been taken yet. I think there's still time if you haven't put in time already. And the reason I'm telling you this now in June is because the sooner the better. I mean, I know I did threads back last November, but for the ones that missed them, I wanted to remind you that we have had some developments. By all reports, it looks like LayerZero has been delayed, which is a good thing as you may have more time to get an airdrop. Now, I want to talk about zkSync, which is the second biggest crypto airdrop. I think there's been some massive developments here, including the head of business development, which alluded to a potential airdrop. I need to show you this video because it says a lot about zkSync. But first, before we get into that, I actually have a bonus airdrop for you from one of the official show partners of the channel, MELD. MELD are conducting their own airdrop, and what they are is they're a non-custodial DeFi protocol for Web3 finance. So think of it as the ultimate Web3 bank that offers lending, borrowing, staking, and integrated fiat bank services on the MELD blockchain. So they're like a crypto bank, but a decentralized version of a crypto bank, which is also interoperable with 6 of the biggest chains in crypto, including Polygon, Avalanche, and Cardano. So this is going to be a very cool product when it actually launches, but before it launches, you have a chance to actually qualify for their airdrop. So I have a link in the description to all the details that you need to know, but basically, if you sign up for MELD.5 for early access and you create a MELD app wallet, you can put yourself in a position to get MELD tokens. I heard they're going to be doing a massive airdrop. Actually, one person is going to win 1 million MELD tokens, which could end up being quite a nice amount, definitely in the thousands, but it could end up being a very nice amount for the person that wins, but obviously it'll be distributed amongst other users as well. So the 2 steps here are simple. 1, sign up to MELD.5 for early access. So you just go to their website, click on get an early access pass. What this is going to do is lead you to an application page. The second thing you can do is actually go into app.meld.com and click create wallet. If you click create wallet, this is going to allow you to create a MELD official wallet. As you can see, the wallet is going to look like this. It's going to have your assets in the left, it's going to have your activity on the right, and it's going to have your overview of your account balance in the middle. Now, at the time of recording this video, their campaign hasn't started, but by the time you're watching, their official airdrop campaign on social media may have launched. So what I recommend doing is clicking on the MELD Finance Twitter link and giving them a follow in the description below, because they're going to be running social tasks and weekly challenges. So for example, interacting with their posts, which will allow you to compete for extra points on their leaderboard for an airdrop. B, when their product launches, they're going to offer on-chain activity like swapping and farming on the MELD blockchain. And C, they're going to have a referral program where you can earn money for people you refer. And as I mentioned before, one lucky participant will be airdropped 1 million MELD tokens. So if you want to participate in the MELD airdrop, there will be links in the description below. Depending on the time you are watching this video, you may be able to participate in the social campaign. If not, I recommend signing up for early access and then also creating a wallet. Obviously, in order to get an airdrop, you are going to need a wallet. But just in general, I'm excited for MELD to launch. I think it's a really cool product. I'm not the biggest fan of centralization in crypto, so the fact we can have a DeFi crypto bank that can offer fiat services is a pretty nice product to me. And I want to thank them for officially partnering with my channel. They've been a great project to work with and I've enjoyed learning about them. All right, without further ado, let's get into zkSync. This is obviously one of the biggest airdrops alongside LayerZero for this year, or might end up being, 2024. We know that zkSync, like LayerZero, has done huge raises. So a $458 million raise at a multi-billion dollar valuation. So on the point that I made before earlier in the video, the more these guys raise, the more that they are valued at, typically the better that bodes for your chances of getting a nice airdrop. And we actually had pretty big news in this clip from Marco Cora, who is essentially the head of biz dev at zkSync, that I want you to watch right now because he says some things that could allude to a potential airdrop. Check out the clip.
It's if used correctly, tokens are a great tool. They enable effective decentralization, and so it's definitely something that we are considering. Should there is a token, what Alex already committed to is that 2/3 of the token will be distributed, so the ERA network will be majority owned by the community, and the insider will only have 1/3 ownership at the beginning, and probably then going down from there, in the future.
So basically in that clip, he's saying tokens are a great tool. They enable effective decentralization. 2/3 of the tokens will be distributed. The zkSync network will be majority owned by the community. majority owned by the community. What does that mean? Well, 66% of the entire supply could be airdropped to the community, or a large percentage could be airdropped to the community. So that is not only affirmation that we are getting a token, but also affirmation that it's going to be mainly community driven, which is completely different from other projects that we've seen launch recently, like Sui, which haven't really been community driven, and the team owns the majority of tokens. This is so cool. I mean, I can't believe that they're going to airdrop more than potentially 50% of the supply to the community. Like, it's absolutely crazy. Now, I started with threads on this back last November. If you were following those threads, I think you're in a great position now to start qualifying for a zkSync airdrop. If you haven't already, similar to LayerZero, I don't think the snapshot's taken. I just think, obviously, you can't maximize it like the people that were doing interactions in the early days can. But I do think there still is some money on the table for zkSync. I want to remind you once again, airdrops aren't guaranteed in crypto. You may get nothing, you may do all the things right and still not get an airdrop. I'm not giving you a get-rich-quick scheme here. I'm not saying you're guaranteed to earn money. Obviously, it's going to depend on the project, what requirements they choose. Sometimes, like Sui, you end up getting screwed over and they end up canceling their airdrop. So they're not 100% to do an airdrop, but of course, the video that I showed you before highly alluded to the fact that the protocol would be largely community owned, and if that's the case, then it makes sense to do a large airdrop distribution. So there's actually a dashboard, which is buyfish.github/zkflow. I'm going to link this thread in the description as well, which allows you to see your activity on the zkSync chain, as well as the protocol interaction. So the volume you've done, the fees you've spent, the interactions you've done. Consistent interactions where you build up volume, transaction volume, and bridging volume over time, in my opinion, will be key requirements here. CryptoStream is doing a few basic steps in order to get an airdrop. Then I'll tell you what I'm doing. He says he's bridging money to zkSync, transacting with as many protocols as possible, transacting on different days, weeks, and months. So he's bridging across the zkSync to the mainnet. Obviously, they launched their mainnet a few months ago after their own testnet. He's interacting with a few of the biggest protocols, SyncSwap, Omni, Chain Trade, and Mute, which are a few of the dexes on the platform. So basically just, conducting swaps regularly on the platform, interacting regularly on the platform as well, and obviously you'll need to bridge funds using their bridge onto the platform. I did find a nice article though which summarized it, some of the major steps you can do, which kind of break it down. Their major mainnet is called the Era Alpha mainnet, and what you can do is just simply add it to your MetaMask, bridge funds across to zkSync using the zkSync bridge, interacting with the testnet and the mainnet. I would focus now mainly on mainnet, although if you haven't done testnet transactions, maybe do a few just to get things going, interact with the ecosystem, and complete quests. I would use bridge.zkSync.io, which is their official bridge, which will allow you to swap from Ethereum to zkSync. You can bridge ETH or stablecoins over to the platform. You can also purchase crypto on one of their exchanges using a card, for example, or bridge money across that way, which helps. So obviously you can purchase ETH on Binance or Bybit, assuming you already know how to purchase those assets, send it across to, let's say, the Arbitrum network, and then you can use their bridge to swap across from Arbitrum to zkSync. Once you have money on zkSync, this is where you need to start interacting. So I've named a few of the protocols here: Orbiter Finance, Zigzag, Argent, On-Chain Trade, and SyncSwap. There are a few, Mute.io as well. That is, they're your major dexes. Then you have zkSync Name Service, which is your naming service. You can buy a domain name. That might be one as well. What I would do is I would just use the protocols to build up some DEX volume. I would use the bridges to build up some bridge volume, and I would also stake in some of the liquidity pools just to show that I'm an active participant, as well as picking up some of the governance tokens and staking them for some of these protocols. That's the more expensive way of doing it. Of course, if you want to go much cheaper, you can just bridge and just trade and pay transaction fees. Personally, I want to boost my chances a little bit by owning and staking as much as I can on the platform. Once again, what they're looking for is genuine interaction on zkSync, whether that be swapping, whether that be staking, whether that be bridging. They just want to see you consistently interact with the platform over an extended period of time. That's why I recommend coming up with a calendar for these airdrops and having a Google Sheets which you physically check off every single week. It might also be smart to spread out which days. Just so you don't get named as a cyber wallet, I would make sure you spread it across, a few different days. Maybe you do Wednesday on the first week, Thursday on the next week. Do it at different times and just vary things a little bit. What I personally do as well is I use my computer and my laptop just in case one of my devices gets flagged. At least I'm using a couple different devices to kind of spread things out a little bit. I've even seen people use 10, 20 devices that physically farm these things, but of course, you know, what you do is going to be within your limitations, depending on how serious you are. The real serious guys, they're going to go for it with multiple devices. The ones that are maybe a bit more casual, maybe just watching, you want a little airdrop, you want to do some interactions, just chill, spend 30 minutes a week on it, you know, put a little bit of money into the chain, swap it around, bridge it across, and you're basically good to go. I know there's a lot of threads that try and overcomplicate it, but it's really not that complicated. As I've mentioned a few times already in this video, all they're looking for is genuine and consistent interaction. Consistency is key. I think most people end up screwing themselves over when it comes to an airdrop because they can't be consistent over time. We actually saw the zkSync transaction volumes dip over the last couple months because there was a lot of hype for it, and now the hype's starting to die. But that actually is an opportunity for you, because with people starting to get bored of the airdrop farming, now you can step in and farm while they're bored, and less competition means a better chance for you getting an airdrop. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. Remember, if you do want to check out MELD Finance, there is a link in the description below for their upcoming airdrop that you can check out. Also follow them on socials to stay updated. Let me know in the comments below what airdrops you want me to cover next. Is there any project that you want to know a bit more details on that you're looking forward to? I'd be happy to do that. Or if you just want my top 5 airdrops list, I can also do a video in the future that talks about some of the smaller caps. I talked about the 2 biggest today because I think risk reward wise, these are the 2 best, but there are smaller ones as well, which I think still have good airdrop potential that I would love to talk about in the future. So smash the like button and subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and I will see you in the next video on the channel, probably next week. See you in the next one. Have a lovely day. Peace out.